How you going, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This is SCC, and tonight we're back for the round 17 review. A bit of a later video later on in the week. Just been really busy with work and getting things around the house done, and yeah, this kind of went on the back burner, but I'm still here. Still trying to work my way towards a good finish for the end of the year, but as you can see, this week was a bit of a rough one. I actually didn't think the score was too bad because there was a lot of players I didn't have that also didn't play extremely well, but I think missing out on guys like Caldwell, Merritt and Butters probably the biggest week I've been punished by not having them. But that's what I was playing against, and it hadn't really hurt me too much. And to be honest, considering some of the stuff that happened this week, I feel like I should have maybe, had it go a bit more my way with maybe some of those players missing games. But yeah, pretty hard week, especially for the team, and it's really put it in a difficult position. I think what's happened this week is pretty much everything that needed to happen to where I could possibly not be able to cover. But that's all right. We'll work through that, and we can have a look at the team and see what I've been thinking, because I think I've got what I'm going to do. The problem is not having any trades left, but we'll have plenty of cover. So going into the team, so basically this is how we lined up. We decided to run McKercher over Martin, which turned out to be the way to go. But we did run Dawson, which was a bit of a failure. Probably should just... Dawson's a bit off, isn't he? Probably should just run Martin, who's at least a bit younger and doesn't get the attention that Dawson gets. So we also have McGovern, who was on for like this was like a 120, 130, and again he gets injured. It's just ridiculous. McGovern's been hit twice in the ribs when he's been on like 90 very early on in the game, and being punished for it. And I know he's like injury prone, and it's probably just the way he plays the position, but I feel like it's very unlucky. But that's an injury we are having to deal with. Will Dawson didn't get selected, so that's a little bit annoying. As you can see, the selections have come through. Bond, Goulden, pretty mediocre. The captain we went with was Sarong, which, I mean, should have just gone Colby. I can't believe Rosie scored so well. That was great. Yeah, the rest of the team is pretty lackluster other than Heaney, who really picked up in the last half. But yeah, that's kind of how we scored, and now we're left in this rough position. Houston started to fail, which is a bit annoying. Having both the Fremantle boys isn't really working, although they're scoring all right. They're not scoring as good as they could be. Sheasel actually had a really good game. I probably should have looked at that as a captain, but I guess they were playing someone good, weren't they? Or were they crap? No, they played like Gold Coast. I thought that like maybe the contested midfielders there would hurt Sheasel. I guess maybe Toot getting injured helped free him up a little bit. Rao's not playing the greatest. Flanders kind of plays his own game, and so does Anderson. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should have captained there. I went VC on Flanders actually, and he was looking all right, but he just couldn't really get anything going, which was a bit frustrating with North on top. And then I think that's more to do with him even being moved a bit more midfield. And yeah, the Shees was the one to pick from that game, it looks like. And otherwise, I actually haven't really VC'd Sheasel this year. Let's have a look at his scores. There's not really much else to talk about. I wonder how well he's actually been as is it VC? He's actually, like, if we look at the scoring, there's been these two down games, and that was when they kind of changed things over, so we all thought it might go wrong, but his actual floor has been pretty good playing in this position, like 120s, which is like VCable. Most of the time you're going to take like a 125, 120, so it's not the best score, but you'll take it. Whereas an 84, like you miss, well, that's 60 points difference. And that's probably where I lost a lot this week, getting that captain wrong. So one to think about next year. I think you really have to just go on some players that are like real, like key midfielders that are just going to bang out big scores, which probably this team misses. Like Sarong hasn't really been up to it. Then the other midfielders have been good, but they're more fringish, big scoring. Whereas like Butters, Merritt, who else? Butters, Merritt. There's a couple others that have been pretty good for captaincy, but can't have them all. And we're in an all right stead. So I guess the issue now is let's look at what we can do to fix this team and fit everyone on. So if I optimize, this is basically what we're given. So McGovern goes off, covered back. Midfield's covered, no ruck cover, and then we've got Richards on the forward line, which isn't the greatest, but at least he's on. Although this, I'm assuming, could be a sub. I haven't seen where he is named, but I could see Richards being the sub again, which isn't great. And the difficult thing about this, right, is I've got Dawson on my bench in the midfield. And I just can't, it just doesn't work to get him in the forward line because of Richards and Dawson and Rankin. This is what I was saying, to a mate. I was like, why is it all the guys who don't have any positional movement, being Gawn, Rankin, McGovern, they're the ones who've got injured. Even Took, if you had him, the only one who could move is Heaney, who's been selected, but he's also going to be a red dot. He's, if you haven't seen it yet, he was did not overturn the tribunal's call for a 1 match suspension. That just came out before, so that means that we've got a red dot here. So, which pretty much forces me to make the changes I was going to make. So, sadly, and this is the guy I started with this year, I'm going to have to get rid of him. And it's really frustrating that it's happening. But it does seem like I have no choice. There is no choice. It's a bit loud. Sorry for the first 5 minutes of this, or 6 minutes where it's been really loud. I just realised my game was turned right up. But yeah, Rankin is going to have to go. And that's really annoying. But what we're going to have to do. He's got a 4-match suspension. And he's the only way I can get to Jackson. I need Jackson to cover the right. I thought about just, maybe going a rookie or something, but or fitting other positions. It doesn't help though. And if I get another injury in the right, I could trade going to Sherry, but what stops Sherry or Nank or whoever you're thinking of trading to getting injured? And then you still have the same problem and you don't have anyone to cover. Obviously, I understand that Jackson's only, one player, he could get injured, but at least I could move him and cover him with a forward. And Gawn hopefully will be back in 1 to 2. That's what they're saying. Or 2 to 3, sorry. Yeah, I don't know, it's frustrating. It's the trade-off of just going Sherry, taking the bigger points, but the potential for him to get injured and then not having cover, or just waiting on Gawn, hoping he's back after, 2 games and getting... Because, yeah, this is round 18, round 19 next week, and they reckon round 20 to 21. I thought he was saying he's 95% chance not to play next week, and then after that, it's pretty open. So I'm hoping around 20. But even then, hopefully Jackson just doesn't get injured, and he's young, so hoping he doesn't get injured, and we should be able to cover. But Rankin's going to miss 4 games, and his last 2 games are Port Adelaide and Sydney. Sydney feels like a pretty horrible matchup, to be honest. And that just screams I feel like Jordan would be likely to go to him because he's more of a game winner at the moment. Dawson's been playing really well, but he looks like he's injured or something, a little bit out of form. So I'm thinking that Rankin is the one to go. Had him since the start. Great call to have started him. Sadly, just this he failed me over the buys. He failed me in the last end. I've held him this whole time and just been it's very frustrating, right? Because we did the thing where we just held the player, this injury against Collingwood, held the player, and then get punished for that. And then, yeah, he goes and gets himself suspended from a bump he really didn't need to do. And yeah, I mean, like, he's going to be probably first pick in everyone's forward line next year. But yeah, pretty frustrating. I don't actually know what our forward line's going to look like. I assume Heaney's going to have too much mid time, maybe. Maybe like Sorko, he's probably going to be defender mid. That leaves more. I mean, there's obviously going to be some guys who come up. Caldwell, is he going to just be mid? But interesting next year. But anyway, yeah, Rankin's going to have to go. Which means Jackson comes in and we go like this. And we take Jackson on field. Now, I know, like, obviously you don't want to be necessarily playing him once Darcy's back, because it is actually good this week with Darcy out. It's actually quite a good scoring player. Problem is like the forward line. The forward line's pretty dreadful. If you have the players to be able to hold Rankin, that's great. Like, if you don't have a Gawn, if you had although I think everyone had a Gawn, but like if you already had Jackson, and this is probably what I was playing against most of the season, that like Grundy or Gawn wouldn't get injured. Sadly, Gawn did. You're in a great position because you don't even have to make a trade. But for me, I have to do it. What are there any other options really for ruck forward? I really don't think there is. There's Miller, who's bloody average. McLean, no good. Like, all of these guys are not guys you're picking. Kruger would actually be good if you had him already as a rookie, but I don't really see him scoring huge. So we're going to take Jackson. And that leaves us in a bit of a tricky position, because if we look at McGovern's injury, they reckon he's going to be back round 19. Surely a ribs and lung injury is more than 1 week. Can someone confirm that? I would have to have thought, you'd think it would be more than 1 week. Now, what I plan to do is, so Livingston plays late, or the latest game, and Richards plays first. So what I plan to do is loop Richards and see what he scores. If he goes like 80, I'm going to keep McGovern and see what happens last week. If he doesn't go well, then I am going to look at, I'm going to look at going for a trade with McGovern. And it's really going to come down to what it opens up. So if we make a trade here, we can put Martin up here, and I really don't know if it's actually good to do this, but let's go like that. We can put Dawson up here, and then we can get Caldwell. So this would have been dreadful last week because Essendon played first against Collingwood, but this week it actually worked. So this is what I'd be looking at. So getting Caldwell in, who is the hot player. What is going on? Thank you, Supercoach. Yeah, getting Caldwell in, and then emergency Richards. See what he happens. If he goes well, Caldwell can be traded out, and we just take Richards' score. Because that's the only real plan. That gives us, if we don't take Caldwell, it leaves us with 1 trade, which could be handy. If we don't, then basically what will happen is once Gawn's back, we can loop Baker and Jackson. Well, actually, we can't loop because Baker is playing, but we can loop like Jackson, Mackay, and Richards with Dawson, hopefully. Just try and pick whoever. These 4 will be the ones we just play on field. Gawn will be back on field. And basically we can cover 2 lines with Baker. I mean, we don't really have to cover the forward line, so Baker can pretty much sit in the back line. Realistically, I'm hoping Richmond play early the rest of the year. Late. Essendon have all early games. Don't know why, but that's just how it's worked out. Essendon another early game, so no good. All right, so this Richmond North game is pretty good. It's early. which means we could get a good game from Baker, which we can loop him into Reed in round 21. So that's good. Round 22, what do we got? We have got Baker's late, so we're just getting absolutely dogged by all these late games. But we could loop someone into him, I guess, and see how they go. Like, although I don't really know who would be the guy kind of looping in the back line. I could potentially put Martin up here or McKercher even, because I feel like McKercher could have some down games, although he's had a lot of rest and his VFL form was actually really good. And yeah, then Essendon play the Ellis game. So it's really only good for that one game, but it is a good game that they've got that week. And yeah, this is what it will kind of look like. We might be able to loop Dawson with some guys. I think this week it's round 18, isn't it? Yeah. So this week the Crows play St Kilda. Windhager's out injured, which is good because it means there's likely not to be a tag on Dawson. And they play the same time as Melbourne, which means I could loop McKercher here and see how that goes. So that's probably what I'll do. Because Port play late and Essendon play later. Baker can come down here. Let's swap this all back around. This is a bit laggy. Yeah. On field, thank you. And Baker. So this is probably what we're going to do. Who do I want emergency? He's got Gorn Ken. And then we'll just leave it on Reed, who plays later. Because what I don't want to happen is have my emergencies locked, so I can't move players around if I want. But yeah, this is what will look like going in. I'm hoping Richard. I don't really want to I'd like Richards to put on a good score, like a 90 or something, and then not be forced to trade into Caldwell. But Caldwell does have a really good matchup against Melbourne, so not necessarily worse. As long as Baker doesn't get injured, we can cover defense. I think if we optimize as well, we'll probably be able to cover the back line maybe. The other reason I like having a trade is you can make the manual adjustments yourself to make it work how you want. By like trading a player in and then undoing the trade and all that jazz. So that's something we could look at doing as well. But yeah, if this is what we go with, depending on how Richards go, then this is probably the last trade video very early on with 5 rounds to go. So we're not looking in good stead. I thought I was going to be able to sit on 2 trades for so long. And then we had probably one of the worst weeks of injuries. I just can't believe how many, injury, suspension, and Heaney's not even on. So actually, I can't loop Richards. I just forgot. I could play Dowling. I'd probably rather play Dowling, to be honest. But what if I don't have any mid forwards? Oh, yes, I do. What if Flanders? Beautiful. All right, so we can do this instead. So scratch everything I've just said because the green dot there actually just messed me up. So I actually can just do this. So yeah, we still have everything covered. We can still do our Richards loop and see how that goes. And then decide on whether we're taking Caldwell or not. And yeah, we're looking good for the rest of the season. So, well, not looking good, but we've got enough cover, hopefully. Luckily these like rookies are getting games, like Dowling, Richards are still getting games. I'm sure Kynan Brown could get a game at some point, and even Will Dawson, I think, could get a game. I think he was fringy this week. I think they just didn't make any changes, really, because of the win. So, yeah, hopefully we do all right. Now, looking at VC captain, not that you should listen to me, because I always get it wrong. Dacos probably tomorrow would be all right as a VC. Fremantle Hawthorn, I probably wouldn't go so wrong. I feel like Hawthorn will try and put pressure on him, but Ryan or Clark would be all right. I'd probably just go Ryan if you're really keen. Sicily's back, so if you've got him still, that would be all right. Sydney North, feel like the SCG, it's not the greatest for maybe Sheasel, but you could look at it. Sydney wise, no Heaney, so Goulden actually would be all right, which is what I might look at, a VC Goulden. Then Then Dogs Carlton. Is that good for Bont? Not really. Oh, they don't have Hewitt, so there isn't really a tag there. And I could see Bont maybe going all right. So I might VC Goulden into like a Bont. Go Dawson, not based on current form. If you had Merritt, that would be good. Butters has probably got a good matchup as well. And who else is there? No Gorn, so that's no good. Who is rucking for Melbourne? That's an interesting one. I thought they might have. Phil Thorpe's actually back. I just realised, is he a ruck forward? Not that it's worth it, but nope, just a forward. All right. Who did Melbourne bring in as ruck? Are they playing Harrison Petty? That is disgusting. Who's got Melbourne next week? Like, Harrison Petty is not a ruck. Jesus Christ. Jackson gets him as well. If Darcy doesn't come back, Jackson's on for a massive score, so I'm pretty happy just to bring him in at that moment. Yeah, so going back to round 18. Yeah, otherwise, probably Tom Green against Richmond would be all right, although they did tag last week, so maybe not. And then, like, if you got Neil or Dunkley, man, that last captain game is looking very nice for you. So, although West Coast are normally a different game, like a different breed, and they are coming off a coach sacking this week, so who knows what could happen. But that's probably all I've got to say about that. So anyway, if you've got to the end of this video, thanks for hanging around. I'm leaving 115k in the bank, sadly. This is probably how we're going to close out unless Richards goes really well. So I'll still do a review video every week, but it's just going to be going over the bloody mess we'll be in, because I'm assuming there'll be a lot. At least Heaney will be back this, the week after this, and then there's probably a bit more maneuverability in the team. So with that, thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting most of the season. If you don't watch another video, we'll see you the next one. Cheers.